Hi and welcome to Bent TV. I'm your host Malice, and we're going to start off a little smorgasbord episode with a little bit of hide and seek from Jean Beck. A little bit of sexiness for you starting out. Enjoy.
Hide and seek.
Our first guest is a lecturer at Melbourne University's School of Social and Political Sciences. In her early 30s, she's the author of 4 books, a prolific columnist and a much sought-after media commentator, an expert in just about everything. It's my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Lauren Rosewarne. Welcome.
Thanks, Dean.
Now, Lauren, I think it was Pope Paul IV in the 16th century that started lopping off the penises from statues, replacing them with fig leaves. He also ordered Michelangelo to clean up the nudes featured in the Last Judgment on the Sistine Chapel. And I hasten to add Michelangelo refused and subsequently had his pension withdrawn. But ever since, Western society has covered up. Why do we continue to feel so shameful about penises?
I think there's a lot of explanations, but why we want to cover it up has a lot to do with, at least originally, that it will inflame the passions, that people will look at it and have desires stirred, and people will...
But isn't that a good thing?
It depends your perspective. I think it's a good thing, absolutely, but this is this argument about sexualising society, and if you put sexual images out there, there's a fear that people's lust will be stirred and that they might act in socially inappropriate ways.
There's a bit of a juxtaposition, though, within our culture in that we see a lot of sexualised images around breasts and female anatomy, I guess, but nothing around male anatomy. And in fact, even underwear ads are so doctored and tailored and cleaned up and, pretty much neat and tidy.
And think about the examples when we do see a little bit more than usual, what a scandal they become. So thinking about Tony Abbott and the Budgie Smugglers, where we're seeing a non-doctored image, which is frightening for quite a few. But also think of the movie Shame, where you saw a lot of scenes of close-ups of a penis, and that got a lot of... that film probably got way more attention because of scenes of a penis that weren't intrinsic to the plot, but nonetheless were repeated throughout the film.
Do you think that we've actually wound back in our self-censoring? You think back of the 70s with Cleo magazine and that sort of stuff. You don't see that sort of thing on our newsstands these days.
The argument is, though, that pornography may have filled that gap,
right,
so that if you are seeking the penis, you can actually find it quite easily going online. But then you've got questions about whether heterosexual men want to be kept away from the penis deliberately. And if you look at heterosexual pornography, much of it is often not penis-centric, because the heterosexual male viewer wants to position himself as being the man who has the sex. So he doesn't want to watch a penis, he wants to be the penis. So you've got that...
Wow, what's that about?
Well, I guess this is that idea of pornography, is he's putting himself in the position of the man in the video.
Yeah.
Whereas if there's too much cock there, he's going to be realising it's not him. So that suspension of disbelief is made easier if you're not seeing the penis.
With artistic expression, though, you'd think that in our sort of enlightened day today that we might see more of it in artistic expression in our galleries than what we do.
That said, though, we don't see a lot of female full frontal nudity either. We seem to be okay with breasts for whatever reason, I suppose because there's a lot of different interpretations of what they mean, whereas vulvas, penises, there's not too many other cultural meanings aside from sex in our culture, so that idea of them being invisible largely because of their sexual aspect, whereas breasts get away with it, because they can connote maternity or lactation.
And yet we have other cultures, like in Papua New Guinea, where they wear sheaths that actually overemphasise the penis, and that's their daily dress.
Yeah, and I think the difference there, though, is we're talking about a different culture, and those Papua New Guinea culture hasn't gone through the sort of puritanical pendulum swings that we have.
Now, worldwide, 30% of men are circumcised. 25 years ago, almost 90% of newborn males in the US were circumcised. In 1993, the figure was about 55%, and that climbed to 63% in 1999. It's back down to around 54% now. Why is circumcision such a fashion trend?
I think it's got a lot to do with politics of the day. So you've got what is aesthetically considered pleasing in certain times. So, for example, Sex and the City put it back on the agenda where you had a male character who had, as an adult, went and had his penis circumcised. So I think it depends who's got the dominant cultural voice at that time in history. So at the moment we're likening it, or at least in the press you're seeing it likened to female circumcision. And because even though they're phenomenally different practices, because they've both got that word circumcision, they get bound up together as though they're one and the same, and that they get framed as mutilation. So when that voice or that argument gets a lot of airspace, people suddenly are a bit more reluctant. Doctors are more reluctant to do it, but also parents are more reluctant to put their child through what's potentially an unnecessary operation.
Dr. Lauren Rosewarne, thank you very much for your insights today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, that was a bit saucy, wasn't it? Good. I look forward to a bit more saucy action after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bent TV, and so now we're going to have some very exciting squeal action hosted by Sky High. So I hear it could be a little controversial. Let's see.
Y'all need to wash under y'all damn nuts.
Last time you joined us, we were talking about the impact gender diverse advertising and the effects it had on the GLBTI community. This advertisement was in question the last time we spoke. In times gone by, we've seen advertising companies who are willing to push the boundaries and let us know what politically correct it is in some cases, even seen as blatant disregard for minority groups. I'd like to ask Greer.
Yes.
Greer, within the transgendered community, what do you believe that some of the hardest things that transgender folk face?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, is just trying to be yourself, and that's always challenged by either family upbringing, schooling, church backgrounds, or the general community. And of course, the negative impact of years gone by when it was illegal to dress in the opposite gender, so you couldn't securely identify as yourself. That is slowly changing, and adverts like this in some ways do help because it causes the issues to be in the public, even though we do get a bit of flack from it, and there's confusion as to whether it's a drag queen or a cross-dresser or somebody that's going on to live full-time female, is almost irrelevant in the end, because suddenly we're out there, and maybe any publicity, not quite so, is good publicity because it puts the issue out in the public eye, and then when they see normal people who are just going about their daily lives, then that becomes a really big challenge, of just being part of daily life.
Sammy, do you believe that transgendered people go out of their way to assimilate and to adapt within the greater society easily?
I think it depends on how the broader community does view the trans community. I mean, we find even within the rainbow community, there is a lot of transphobia, and I think the first step is for us as a rainbow community to be able to then support the trans people in our community, for then to that acceptance to then go on, because as Greer has said previously, it's about you going out there, feeling comfortable in your own skin and going, hello world, this is me, this is who I am. And then people are far more accepting of you. And I think that that's something that all of us makes life a lot easier. So I think we're at that stage where it's almost at the stage of good press or bad press, it's still press. And we're out there for people.
Do you believe that people present themselves in a positive way, though, when they do go out? Like, look at me, I'm here, and you know what, I'm a 7'4" drag queen. So people have no option.
Hard to miss, darling.
Exactly, they have no option to think, wow, look at those legs, she's stunning. But do you think that's a representation I'm asking for trouble?
What do you think, Melissa?
Well, this is the thing, because we are in this community, it's hard for me to comment on that, because I'm like, no, you go, girlfriend, right? Because that's, that's who we are, and I want us to be out in the community and be seen by the straight community, and I think this is the whole issue, is getting more images out there, isn't it? So more average images, I think. So here's where the question of this comes into play. It's not really the average. That's not what trans individuals would do. Let's face it. You're not going to be going to the urinal. That's just not part of not part of the daily average kind of trans kind of situation, right?
I think one of the difficulties too has been in the past people associate transgender as being a sexual identity issue when it's not. It's an identity, my personal identity, how I see myself presenting to the world. Yeah. My sexual preferences within
irrelevant,
the broad,
surely, right?
it is irrelevant, but it's within the broad parameters of the general community.
Yeah.
So that's where the perception comes, and the more I go out in public, just shopping, down the supermarket, clothes, even on things like this, people see, so hopefully it's an intelligent person just going about their daily life.
Do you think it's big that then opens this whole other can of worms, that the transgender community is packaged in with the rainbow community, where pretty much the rest of it is about sexuality?
That's true. Yeah.
Where trans and intersex isn't really about sexuality.
And that was why I asked the question about assimilation.
Yeah.
It is a difficult choice, and I don't know how you go really about it, but at the moment the rainbow community does provide the vehicle for all the smaller diverse groups to get out, because, we know that within the trans community there are people who are more their sexual orientation is more of an issue than the presentation, and going to the other extreme where the identity is the primary issue, sexuality is not an issue. And that, I think, whereas the gay community is saying you're either gay or you're not gay.
Greer, let me ask you, if I was frocked up and looking fabulous in this photo as a drag queen, would that have made it easier for the trans community, do you think, to perhaps accept and identify me as a drag queen?
It does, but it also helps the trans community too, because there's the image of a male being dressed as female, and with the the ostentation of the presentation challenges everyone else around them. It's just like you go down the shop and you see, there's the tracky dacks and mockies and T-shirt, but no one goes up to them and criticises them for being dressed that way, maybe privately. But
So I think what we're doing is stereotyping our own sexuality, because as a drag queen, I don't have eyebrows into my hairline, and I don't, have the big funky frocks, and, this is who I am, this is how I feel comfortable about representing myself. So should I adapt to what society would expect me to look like, especially when it comes to advertising?
I'd say hell no.
No. Well, as Mela said, within our community, we would be like, you do whatever you want in the space that you're comfortable to do it in, and we will accept you for that. But again, it's about visibility. And visibility for the trans community is something that's really important. We're starting to say that a lot more now. We've got an Australian senator that is openly gay and in a relationship with a transgendered person. So we're starting to see that visibility now in the broader community, and it's that slow steps that we will see. And, it's a dream that all of us would one day is we don't talk about the broader community. We don't talk about the rainbow community. It is the community.
And I think that's a good point, because there's no big deal or issue being made by the senator about a partner and vice versa. It's just a fact of life.
We're at that point now.
I hope so.
Yes.
I do. I hope that regardless of drag queen gender diversity, I hope that we can one day live together as a community. That's all we've got time for Squeal this evening. I'd like to thank our panel, Sammy, Greer and Malice. Thank you at home for watching. Until we meet again, good night.
Well, if you have some thoughts on what was talked about in Squeal, perhaps you could drop us a line at feedback@benttv.org.au. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Bent TV, and I'm Malice. And this next story is a collection of vox pops, I believe, taken at a very lovely shopping centre near you. And watch out for someone in there that you might recognise. Let's check it out.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yes.
For what reason?
I just think everyone should be able to do what they want to do. So if they want to marry, fair enough. Yeah.
What about raising kids?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yeah, why not?
And your reasons for that?
Everyone's equal.
Cheers. Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Of course.
And your reason behind that?
They're exactly the same as everyone else. Why should they be treated any different? Yeah.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yes.
Yes.
What does normal mean anyway?
Okay, and so what are your reasons for believing that?
Because everybody's the same. Everybody should have exactly the same rights, regardless of race, creed, colour, sexuality, number of limbs, anything. And it's just so wrong. Our government is just so wrong.
Thank you so much. And yourself, Sue?
I'm agree with her.
Normal people? Aren't we normal people? Surely, yes, we certainly should. Give them to us. We need them.
And your rights? I mean, your reasons?
Because we are, just like everybody else. Yes?
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Absolutely.
And your reasons?
Reasons being, I think time's moved on and people have accepted the fact that this is reality.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yeah.
For what reason?
I can't. Sorry, I'm not good in English. Sorry about that.
As far as I'm concerned, they can do what they like, mate. I'm free to say, go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
Okay, so it makes no difference to you?
No.
So if they wanted to change the laws for, let's say, adoption?
Might be a little bit different there. Because I really think that they should have a mother and a father. I think also what changed my mind is that, you know, when a couple gets together and they're together for a long time, and something happens to the one person, they're not allowed into the hospital, or they can't ring up for them, or they can't do the things that normal people do.
Sorry? Do you think that gay and lesbian people, so people that are the same gender, should have the same rights as normal people?
I don't think so.
No? Why not?
It's a strange thing for me.
Yeah? Is that because where you're from originally?
Yep,
So where do you come from?
from Egypt.
Okay. And so that's pretty strange there, is it?
Yeah, it's a bit strange thing for me, yeah.
Okay.
From my point of view, that's my point.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No, it's fine.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yes, I do.
What's your reasons for that?
A reason, they're people in the same society, they're humans, so I think they should have the same rights as everyone else.
And what about like raising kids?
Yeah, what, yes or no, or what's my thoughts on that?
Like, you want your thoughts on it?
Not really, I don't know about that one. Don't know.
You know, the world had this perception of the gay and lesbian group people as if, you know, something really bad and something that shouldn't be happening, and it's against Christianity and you know, stuff like that. And it was really coming out as if those people were the really bad guys in the community. And people have sort of stood back now and they've realised the gay and lesbian community isn't all that bad. They are lovely people.
They can't get married. I don't reckon they should be allowed to be married.
Can't
be allowed to.
No,
Because the church says that, that's the church's belief.
If they
So they
don't
have
get
as
married
much
in a
right
church,
to have their belief as gays have the right to be gay.
What if they don't get married in
Do
church?
you reckon they shouldn't be able to raise kids?
Shouldn't be allowed to have kids. Not that I've got a gay uncle and shit, he's got kids, and they're a bit... I mean, they're actually his actual kids.
Yeah.
He's a good bloke, but the kids, you know... yeah, they're not bad people, they're just, you know...
They should be able to get married, but not in a Catholic church. I reckon that's fine.
Think of the kids when they're at school, mate. Like, I know if I was at school and there was kids with gay parents, I'd probably pick on them.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest,
People are naturally dicks.
So, people are naturally dicks. So, pack mentality, like, that's how it works. If you pick out the weak, you go for them, and that's what happens in a school.
I think just we should follow the natural human nature. So I think the gay or lesbian, they have human nature.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yes. Do I need to be reasons? You said people, and that's good enough for me. Like, yeah, I don't think I need to justify that one, but yeah. Sure. Sweet. No problems.
Okay, look, I'm Greek Orthodox, and in our religion, it's the wrong thing. I mean, you know, taboo. Okay, but as a woman that's, you know, grown up in Australia, I mean, I was born here in Australia and I've lived overseas, you know, things evolve. Nothing stays the same, and that's how it should be. And I think that's how it should be for the gay community as well.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yeah,
For what reason?
because we're all just people, so it's our choice to live how we want to live and be who we want to be, and of course.
Yes.
For what reason?
Because they're like everybody else, so why not?
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yes.
And your reason for that?
That's really awkward. Why not? They're all the same, so yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
That's a question I haven't really thought of, but yeah, why not, I guess.
And do you have any reasons for that?
I guess, you know, everyone has a right to self-determination and equality, so if they're happy with that, I don't have any problems with that, and I support them, so good luck for them.
Look, it'll be very hard for Christian groups, as the born-again Christians, Greek Orthodox, the Catholics, all these groups in thinking in the way that they should, as in progress.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Definitely.
What are your reasons for that?
It's a simple human rights question. They're not different in any way except their sexual preference. You treat someone, you know, you wouldn't treat someone who was a member of a different religion, you know, differently. Why would you treat someone with a different sexual preference?
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yeah, I think they should.
For what reason?
Well, we're all human beings, so what's the difference between men, women, men? We've all got the same skin, same heart, same soul. So there should be no difference between women and men. And everybody should be pleased to do whatever they like.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Absolutely.
For what reason?
Because we're all the same, really. We should all be treated the same.
And what about yourself?
I agree with Mum. We should all just be treated the same way. And yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
No worries.
You can forget about Tony Abbott because he won't do that at all.
Do you think that gay and lesbian people should have the same rights as normal people?
Yeah, why not? They have their own rights for. Yeah, every person should have equal rights. They have their own thinking and for in my opinion, yeah, they should have definitely equal rights than any other, you know, bisexual and other people. Yeah, definitely.
Can't comment on that, thank you.
Wow, it's always good to hear from the community. And we really love to have community as part of our volunteer base at Bent TV. So if you feel like you want to become involved, behind the scenes, on air, whatever, we would love to have you. So if you check out our website at benttv.org.au, you should be able to find a spot about volunteering. We'd love to hear from you. So we'll be back next week. See you then.